Marissa is in Bend, Oregon. Hi, Marissa. How can Ken and I help?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. My husband and I, we are really frustrated living in Oregon right now. And so we are wanting to move somewhere that to a state that is more in line with our values and what we want for the future for our children. And we are in the middle of baby steps 3 and 4. So just trying to, your advertisement about a game plan. So just trying to figure out what would be the best game plan to plan a move like this, something we had not planned on doing at all. We both were born and raised in Oregon, but it's just too much.
It's so heartbreaking. The place you were born, the place you love, the place you were raised doesn't feel like home anymore.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So what are the key things that are driving you out of there?
So a lot of it is just, the unrelenting mandates. I work for state government. My husband works for Indian tribe here. So it just is, one thing after another. Our kids are just being bombarded by, liberal, anti-Christian views when they're in school. We actually live in more of a rural area, so we don't have any other schooling options for them. So those are the two big things. A lot of the politics, just, the constant socialist ideas that are being passed down in Oregon. So, all of it.
Well, the reason I ask is not to stir up trouble, but I think it is good for elected officials to hear why their citizens are leaving.
Right.
And it's happening in California, New York, en masse. It's happening in Oregon and Washington State. It's happening around some of the major cities where the city has lost control. They've lost control of their cities. Right. People are not, people who are the producers in our culture, who are the artists who make the art, the business people who run the businesses, the administrators who administrate, the good moms and dads who do show up at the PTA meetings. They've lost their tolerance for this stuff, and we're seeing one of the biggest migrations in the history of the United States right now since the time that this country was actually settled. It's pretty bizarre. So that's why I bring it up. It's kind of a philosophical thing, but worth talking about.
Yeah, Marissa, I'm curious if you could tell Dave and I what's driving the destination the most. Is it the where or is it the what you guys will need to do from a professional standpoint? I'm just curious.
Well, I actually work in a prison here in Oregon, so, my career field I'm not necessarily anticipating being able to stay in. But my husband is a farmer. He actually farms for, like I said, a Native American tribe for their tribal government. So he's very much, he has an ag degree from Texas, so that's kind of why we were looking at Texas. He's, familiar with Texas, really liked going to school there. So his degree is in ag economics, so he can run any part of a farm from the business end to the manual end. So right now we're focusing on getting him a job. And where would that be? What would that look like? Especially in the Midwest. Even just job opportunities for him in Oregon, the farming community where they're out of water, so his opportunities, regardless of the politics, are becoming few and far between. So, so that's another thing that's driving our desire to move is career opportunities as well.
What do you do tactically, just the function in the prison system? What kind of a job? Is it administrative in nature? What do you do?
Right now I run a life skills program, so transitioning work, so I can do that kind of stuff in a variety of settings. And I also have experience in administration. So,
great.
So I feel like I'm a little bit more marketable.
Yes, you are.
As far as, working for a different type of environment.
I think your career field might be, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, more defined by what you do rather than where you have been doing it.
Right.
So I really wouldn't. I think it's. I've been running a life skills program. I've been in administration. Oh, by the way, happen to be in a prison system.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So once you guys get where the right gig is for the hubs, this is a wonderful, wonderful job market right now, and you're going to be very, very attractive to a lot of different people. So I just wanted to ask about that. So I think, Dave, at this point, it's, okay, we got to figure out the place. We've got a wonderful relocation guide that I do want to make sure Kelly gives them. at the end of this call. We had a Ramsey relocation guide. It's free. It really helps you walk through a checklist of everything from real estate professional, schools, packing, everything you can imagine. Because part of the thing that freaks people out about a move is not having a plan. It's just like, what do I think of? There's a million things. And certainly when you're uprooting from one state and moving cross country, that's terrifying. But we do have a great tool we want to give her that'll help.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah, I talk about it on the Ken Coleman Show because we have a lot of people changing jobs.
Oh, well,
and so
I guess I ought to know these things. I'd given away one. But,
yeah, it's a checklist. So it helps you come up with a plan.
Hey,
to
Marissa,
make the move.
we have this great No, okay. Anyway, the thing that comes to mind for me is I always have to put stuff like this. How do you eat an elephant a bite at a time? You said how you lay out a game plan. I always have to put stuff that's this big a task in order. Almost like a flow chart. Until this happens, I can't go to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing for you guys is to land careers.
Right.
You can't go on a wing and a prayer and hope somebody hires you. So if you both had jobs making more or equal to what you're making now in a new market, now moving starts to be mathematically fairly easy.
And that's another thing that's been overwhelming is, just the cost of living, and our salaries here are quite a bit more than when I look at like Texas, Oklahoma, kind of Midwest. But I also know that we're going to be able to buy a house that's probably half the price of our house here, so just trying to keep those things in perspective too. But when you look at those salaries, if you can land the career with a track, land the position, both of you, then in whatever city, and you say, okay, that's where we're going. Then you can start unraveling the stuff on your end and making the leap. But making the leap until you have the income waiting on you at the new place is that's really dangerous. And so that would be my biggest and first thing I would do if I were in your shoes, is to jump on King Coleman's site, use all of his tools to land that job you love. And this may be a time to transition into a different segment of your career field that gives you more meaning as well. But land that first, and then you can talk about selling your house, buying a house. You can talk about moving. You can talk about actually loading up the truck and heading to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools and movie stars.
Texas tea.
This is The Ramsey Show.